President of the Vietnamese community in Australia, New South Wales chapter. Good afternoon to all community leaders, all members of the Vietnamese community, and to everyone who is watching. The 30th of April, what does it mean to me, the younger generation who did not live through the Vietnam War, who has no memory of my ancestors' relatively distant past? It has been 45 years, way before I was even born. So why is it relevant to me? Why should I still remember? It's complex questions that I often hear, but for me, the answer is simple. How can we choose to forget? To forget is to deny your own identity, your own history. How can you forget the soldiers who sacrificed their lives, their blood and bones to fight for freedom and democracy? How can you forget the reason why you are now living in a peaceful life, enjoying the privileges of freedom and democracy? It's a time when we are told the safest place is our home, but our ancestors, our family, had no choice but to flee their home, crossing the treacherous ocean, risking their lives in search of freedom. But not all made it to the shores of freedom. Countless bodies buried deep down in the ocean, along with their dreams of freedom. Do you ever stop to question or remember why they had to flee, to leave all they knew behind? Why did they need to go in search of freedom? What fear was greater than the fear of potentially losing their life in the ocean? How can we forget to thank Australia for showing us what freedom is, by opening its arms and welcoming us in as their own, even though we come from different background and culture? So how can we forget our own people who are still living behind in Vietnam? How can we forget that after 45 years, our fellow countrymen in Vietnam are still suffering? No freedom of religion, no right to vote, no right to freedom of speech, no right to question, to express their opinion without fear of retribution, where even social media is heavily monitored with no privacy. There are unspeakable human rights abuses, atrocious disregard for the rule of law, court trials without procedural fairness, land forcibly taken from our own people to sell to foreigners when our ancestors fought so hard to defend our country from foreign invasion. You can empathize with the people of Hong Kong in their fight for democracy. You can empathize with the people of the Philippines fighting to protect their sea rights from foreign invasion. So how can you forget your own people in Vietnam? We must not forget, we must always remember. History is more than the few paragraphs, the few pages dedicated to the past. And what good is history if no one remembers, or if history does not remember all sides to what happened? History does not always remember the untold memories of those who lived and suffered through it. Our side, our ancestors' side of history, is often erased and untold. There is no greater agony than an untold story within. There is no greater agony than when history purposely erases memory. There are so many untold stories that will be forgotten in history if we don't remember. The Vietnamese people who had to dig their own graves, or those buried alive, are just some of the stories. So as part of the younger generation, it is our responsibility to be the torchbearers, to pass on the flame, the memories to the future generations. As long as there is memory, there is hope. Without memory, there is no identity, culture, liberty. We must remember what history forgets. We must not let history erase our memories. We must not let the dark history that is happening in Vietnam right now continue to repeat itself by us turning a blind eye or not speaking up for the voiceless. Remember, always, the light triumphs over darkness.